On Thursday, June 30th, the FCC dropped a huge W for SpaceX and Starlink, granting them to use Starlink as a mobile platform, a mobile internet platform, which is something that users obviously really want. There's definitely customers for this, and of course, Starlink really wants to offer this to people. This not only benefits SpaceX and their Starlink project, but also Project Kepler, another person that benefited from this. So we're going to go through the FCC document here, talk about what's important, some things we can kind of gloss over, and what it means for you as either a prospective user of Starlink or one that uses it daily like myself. Can you use your current Starlink dish as a mobile platform? Well, for one, the terms of service have not been updated by Starlink yet, so no. And I also don't think you're going to be able to use your existing satellite dish as a mobile internet platform for a number of different reasons. For one, during this whole document, they refer to a new class of satellite dishes known as ESIM, or Earth Stations in Motion. They refer to this specific terminal multiple times inside of this big filing here by the FCC. In part, they do mention this fact that they will have dedicated ones, saying that services to mobile platforms that often cannot be served using other communication technologies will be granted by the FCC. This is due to a growing demand for broadband communications to vessels, land vehicles, and aircraft. So that's a big thing there. In very specific note here, we agree with SpaceX and Kepler that the public interest would benefit by granting with condition their applications, authorizing a new class of terminals for SpaceX's satellite system will expand the range of broadband capabilities to meet the growing user demand. I think that sentence in itself pretty much explains that no, we're not going to be able to use our existing satellite dishes or mobile use. Now, before we get too deep into this, I do want to make sure that everybody understands the difference between portability and mobility. They are very different. Right now, portability is not only allowed by the FCC, but also allowed by Starlink. In fact, you can pay extra to either have the RV service by Starlink or to use your Starlink dish wherever you want to go, even if you have a home address, with a little extra monthly fee. So that's something that already is allowed. Portability means you have your satellite dish set up, you can then put it, pack it away, drive somewhere, set it back up, and you're good to go. So portability already works, that's totally fine. Mobility is when you take that Starlink dish, maybe on the roof of your car, roof of your RV, or on a boat and move while using that service. It technically does work as it stands, but it is not allowed by the terms of service of Starlink and also hasn't been allowed by the FCC. The commission already allows fixed blanket license to Earth stations to deploy in the band, that's a 12 gigahertz band, which has been very hotly contested for a number of other reasons, by the way, then asserts that the risk interference into terrestrial antenna already exists. So basically, that is why portability is a thing, because the FCC and Starlink know that there's already this 12 gigahertz spectrum floating around. There's already that potential for interference. Starlink isn't changing that. So that's a big thing to hear. SpaceX asserts that there's no interference because of their Earth Stations in Motion, or ESIM, that will only receive rather than transmit signals in that band. That's another very important thing, which is also kind of interesting because you obviously upload data using Starlink as well. That presumably isn't in that 12 gigahertz band. That's probably in one of the other bands that Starlink utilizes. We agree with SpaceX and Kepler that their proposed ESIM operations on an unprotected, non-harmful interference basis in the 12 gigahertz band will not materially impact the interference environment in that band. So pretty much big W for Starlink and SpaceX here. So another reason why I do think there are going to be separate dishes for this is that they also note, SpaceX note that its ESIM terminals incorporate industry standard technologies such as micro, electro, mechanical systems, inertial measurement unit sensors, and GPS receivers, as well as advanced phased array antennas with efficient side lobes to maintain correct point, detect mispointing, and cease transmissions well within the 100 microsecond threshold. In summary, What does this mean? If you are a prospective Starlink user and you want it for mobility use, you may want to wait to order anything until we have a formal announcement from SpaceX or Starlink whether or not you can use your dishes as a mobile platform. I'm thinking you cannot. Therefore, you may want to wait to invest in a mobile platform. I'm going to guess that this mobile platform may be more expensive for a number of different reasons. So we'll have to see about that, but that is a very TBD kind of thing. This is more so just a video to highlight the big changes that did come. Again, to kind of recap everything here, the FCC grants SpaceX and Starlink to use Starlink terminals and Kepler as mobile internet platforms while in motion, either on boats, airplanes, or vehicles like RVs and cars. That is in part due to the fact that they believe the interference issues on the 12 gigahertz spectrum is not going to be a problem, in part due to the fact that the satellites are already beaming 12 gigahertz on the surface of the Earth. There are other sources of 12 gigahertz spectrum already in the air. And the fact that Starlink will not be transmitting on the 12 gigahertz, only receiving on the 12 gigahertz spectrum. That again goes back to the fact that perhaps when you're talking about uploading, it's going to be in the other spectrums granted already by Starlink. That includes the 10.7 up to the 12 gigahertz band. They also do operate in the 14 to 14.5 gigahertz band, so the two other things that they operate in. So that pretty much covers it all here. I don't think I missed anything. There's a lot of really cool information here. I do have links where you can find all of this in the video information below if you are interested. The full document here by the FCC, it does a really good job of outlining what all these different things mean. There's a lot of legalese in here. The other thing that is still waiting in the wings here is whether or not the Dish and Starlink dispute over 12 gigahertz spectrum, that has not been solidified here. It can go either way here, in part due to the fact that the FCC does grant Starlink the ability to do this because the 12 gigahertz spectrum already exists. So that's going to be an interesting filing whenever that does come. Anyway, I hope you found this video interesting and informational. There's a lot of really cool stuff here. I will continue to provide a lot of updates to SpaceX and Starlink projects right here on this channel. Subscribe for more videos. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. Like this video as well. It does really help me out. Leave a comment about how you feel about this. And if you're excited for using Starlink as a mobile platform, I'm personally very, very excited for it. We'll have to see how things shape up here in the next couple of weeks and months. We'll see you again in the next video.